Hi, my name is Chloe, and the study that I'm going to discuss today is the impact of childhood vaccines on bacterial carriage in nasopharynx, a longitudinal study. First, let me briefly discuss about the synopsis of the study. This study was led by a group of European researchers, including Christian Bottomley, Peter Smith, and Anna Roca et al. The researchers of this study aim to find the connection between the effect of routine childhood vaccines on the bacterial carriage in nasopharynx. The researchers studied the presence of three different types of bacteria from the nasopharyngeal swabs collected before and after the administration of DTP, Hep B vaccines, and the measles yellow fever vaccines. The results suggested that the bacterial carriage was reduced after the administration of the measles yellow fever vaccines, while the DTP, Hep B vaccines had no effects on the bacterial carriage. The background of the study, although Bottomley et al. Mentioned that their report is the first one that suggests the measles yellow fever vaccine might reduce the bacterial carriage of some pathogens. Other scientists have studied the non-specific effects of vaccines on children previously. One of these studies was done by Peter Abbey and Christine Ben, who studied the non-specific and sex-differential effects of routine vaccines. Abbey and Ben concluded from the study that the high-titer measles vaccines might have negative and non-specific effects on children, and those kind of effects are more seen in girls than boys. The standard measles vaccine had beneficial and non-specific effects on children by greatly reducing the mortality, and such effects are only seen in children who had not received the neonatal vitamin A supplement. Abbey and Ben also suggested that the DTP vaccine seemed to have negative and non-specific effects on girls. However, none of these previous studies on the non-specific effects of vaccines, including the one led by Abbey and Ben, has solved the problem that the non-specific effects on the bacterial carriage. As it is explained by Bottomley et al. In this article, the bacterial carriage is the precursor of many different bacterial diseases, which contribute to the children mortality, especially in the developing countries. As a result, Bottomley et al. Focused their study on how the routine vaccines might reduce the bacterial carriage in nasopharynx. The method of the study: the subjects being studied are children from the rural Gambia who were recruited at birth. The nasopharyngeal swabs were collected at birth and every 2 weeks for the first 6 months, and then every other month. The three bacteria that were used as the indicators of the non-specific effects of the vaccines are H. influenzae, S. pneumoniae, and S. aureus. The two sets of vaccines whose effects were studied are the measles yellow fever vaccines and the DTP Hep B vaccines. The samples were collected and then inoculated and incubated in the agar medium. Different characterization tests were performed accordingly to identify the presence of the different bacteria in the sample. The researchers analyzed the prevalence of the bacterial carriage in each decile of age and used a logistic regression model to estimate the age prevalence curve. there were total 237 infants were recruited in the study, but the results of the cohort study of the 136 infants were recorded, since they had the completed vaccine records. Infants who missed one or more vaccine and those who did not have the completed vaccination records were excluded. The strengths and the, the results of the study. The results for the DTP Hep B vaccine. For this set of vaccines on the S. pneumoniae, before the administration of the vaccine, the prevalence of the bacterial carriage was 86.6%. And within 1 month after the administration of the vaccine, the bacterial carriage was 87.6%. And after 1 month, the prevalence becomes 89.8%. And the vaccines on the H. influenzae, the bacterial carriage prevalence was 33.3% before the shot, the administration of the DTP Hep B vaccine. And during the first month after the first shot, the prevalence becomes 30.2%, and after 1 month it becomes 33.5%. SRS, before the administration of the vaccine, it was 28.4%, and during the first month it was 29.6%, and after the first month it was 21.2%. So based on the data from the 3 different bacteria that they collect from during the study, the DTP and DTP Hep B vaccine had no significant effects on all 3 bacteria. The effects of the measles yellow fever vaccine. For the X. pneumoniae, the prevalence was 93.8% before the administration of the measles yellow fever vaccine, and it becomes 83.3% after the administration of the vaccine in the first month. And after the first month, it becomes 89%. And for H. influenzae, it was 41.4% before the vaccine, and during the first month after the first vaccination, it was 14.9%, and after the first month, it becomes 24.8%. And for SRS, before the vaccine, it was 18.9%, and during the first month after the first shot, it was 15.2%, and after the first month it was 16.4%. So the result had answered the question proposed by the researchers. The bacterial carriage was reduced after the administration of the measles yellow fever vaccine, while the DTP Hep B vaccine had no effects on the bacterial carriage. But the researchers also mentioned that the analysis was repeated separately for boys and girls, and there was no significance in the results suggesting that the vaccine had different effects on the different gender. The measles yellow fever vaccines had very little effects on reducing the bacterial carriage in the SRS. The strengths and limitation of the study. One of the strengths of the study is that it is a longitudinal study. In this case, the researchers did not need to get involved in the ethical problems for risking the children by withholding the vaccination from them. In addition, the comparison is made within the same child. So the researchers mentioned that the approach that was used in the previous study was by comparing the vaccinated and unvaccinated children, which could have led to a bias that was caused by the different socioeconomic or underlying health status of the two groups. Another strength of this study was that its objective is more specific than the one from the previous study. This study aimed to find whether or not the vaccine would reduce the bacterial carriage in the nasopharynx. The bacterial carriage was a precursor of the bacterial disease. The result of the study is more applicable for the future study on the mechanism of non-specific effects of the routine vaccines on human immunity. This study has some limitations as well, as the authors mentioned in the article that the vaccine effects could not be evaluated separately. The results for the effects of the DTP Hep B vaccine in children who have been vaccinated with BCG, and the effects of the measles yellow fever vaccine in children was from the one that who had been previously vaccinated with BCG and DTP Hep B vaccine. This study cannot differentiate whether the effects of the effects observed is due to the vaccines that are concurrently given. The measles vaccine is given together with the yellow fever vaccine and after the BCG vaccine, and the DTP vaccine was given together with the Hep and Hep B vaccines. As I mentioned previously, the report only include the results from the children who had the complete vaccination records. Such inclusion can be a problem as well. Those who have been excluded from the report might have lower socioeconomic status, and they might have more health-related or immune system-related problems, and their results might be crucial for future studies as well. I chose this article because it is well written and very informative. In addition, I think vaccination is very important for developing acquired immunity to fight against the life-threatening disease. As a nursing student, it's gonna become part of my job that to educate people, especially parents, to bring their children to have the vaccination on time. There are a lot of misconceptions regarding the vaccination now, and a lot of Americans are opting out vaccinations for their children. According to a season report from CDC in 2013, about 90% of children who die from the flu-associated death did not receive flu vaccination from that season. This is very serious. By learning more about the specific and non-specific effects on the routine vaccine and the possible side effects, it helps me to better understanding and prepare when it comes to educate and convince people to receive proper vaccination. And that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for watching. Bye.